you doing down here, bro?
It's too late to fight back now. We are going to wipe you out like the vermin you are.
We got vampires in the Bronx.
Nobody gonna care that Slim disappeared.
Why? Because he's a gangbanger?
Nah, homie. Because he's from the Bronx, like us.
There's a lot of things happening in this neighborhood right now. Keep your eyes open.
All right.
Yo, that was mad vague, dog.
So, starting off, I wanted to talk about the fact that maybe this is just based on like the movies I've seen you in, but I feel like there's not a lot of movies that tap into your comedic skills. Like Sarah Gadon, as I know, is a very funny person, but in terms of movies, this is one of those movies that I feel like actually taps into his skills, because usually you're like kind of either a damsel in distress or you have issues, you have some real
like
issues.
Serious trauma. Just playing women with serious trauma. I think that's what I was drawn to so much in the film. And I know Oz Rodriguez, he directed the film. I was friends with him. We live in like neighboring communities in Brooklyn, and I'm really good friends with his wife. And so maybe he saw that side of me and thought, yeah, you could do this. But it's really nice to make movies for lots of different kinds of people. You know, there's movies that I make for the moms, movies that I make for the ladies. I feel like this is for the family, this is for the kids. And it's definitely something I haven't done before. So I was thrilled when Oz asked me to be a part of the project.
In terms of the comedy of this, right? I mean, the comedy of this is based on you leaning into your whiteness. And as one of my favorite white people, I think I'm okay with saying this, but some of the, there's this hilarious gag where like the kid Miro, he plays this guy who owns a bodega, and he's like, well, I got you your kale or this other kale or some flax seeds or some organic aloe, and I'm like, this works for Sarah, because for Sarah, I mean, if the one person that's putting like ginger root kefir into my timeline, it's Sarah Gadon and all these organic.
I love kale. That's a fact about me, and so that was a really easy aspect to tap into character-wise. But yeah, I mean, I think the whole movie is, it's a comedy horror, and it's about gentrification. And as somebody who lived in Brooklyn, who lived in Fort Greene, and then lived in Crown Heights, it was something that I lived and saw. And we shot this film 2 years ago, and it's really interesting that it's kind of coming out now, and there's so many discussions about like white privilege, and so many white people being like, oh my God, what is that? Why, but I feel like knowing the boundaries of my privilege is something that I've been exploring for a very, very long time. So it's really nice when you can kind of make a film that's about that, that's having a discussion about that. But it's also a kid's movie, and it's also making fun of that, and it's also seeing that through the lens and through the perspective of these young teenage boys. So that's something that I also had never really read in a genre film before, and I've read lots of genre films, and I love genre films, but I felt like when I read Oz's script, I felt like, this is something contributing to the genre that I've never seen before, I've never seen done in this way, and it's kind of coming at it from that perspective, while also having the tone and the fun and the freedom of movies that I grew up loving and Oz grew up loving, like Lost Boys and Goonies, and just movies that really like sucked you into a world and took you on a ride and had this kind of universal coming of age experience that we've all gone through.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me, actually there was, when I was watching with the kids, there was one moment where I actually I paused the movie and I explained to the kids, your friends who live in that building who are about to be moved out because of a condo coming in there, that's what's happening in this movie. I got to stop them and educate, this is what this is.
Yeah, and I think that's something that really resonates for people living in any major city around the world. It's not just the Bronx, it's not just New York, it's not just America. We're here in Canada, we're living in Toronto, and we've been witnessing that happening in our city now for the past decade. And so it's something that it doesn't matter if you're living in, Canada or the US or South America or Europe, or you see that the effects of gentrification everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me can you when you said you lived in Fort where? Fort Knox?
Fort Greene. Ah, you're so from Toronto. You don't even know where that is.
No, where's Fort Greene? Like, is that
It's in Brooklyn. They're just neighborhoods in Brooklyn.
Okay. So, all right, but like, so I mean, could you compare then? Talk to me about like, yeah, I'm gonna reset that and not embarrass myself. But no, like you know, so you lived in Brooklyn, and you lived in Toronto, and you're making this movie about gentrification. Can you compare, like, what is there a difference in terms of the way gentrification looks in Toronto versus Bronx or Brooklyn?
I mean, I feel like my experience in the two cities are very similar. I definitely think there's a really funny line in the trailer.
Y'all know how this starts. Them white people with canvas bags, that's always the first sign.
I have a number of canvas bags hanging on my doorknob right now. So yeah, it's like that kind of thing. The film opens with me going for a mani and like talking about how great it is to get like this really like inexpensive manicure that's so good. And it's like, it's the same thing. It's like infiltrating the neighborhood. And what I think is so funny about the movie is that in going on in the background, you often see, you know, the different stores that have been sold, and then like what's coming, and it's like designer butter shops and, you know, almond milk stores, and like it's just really funny the way that Oz kind of pokes fun at that, because he too lives in Brooklyn, and he too, you know, sees that and has seen that happen in the neighborhood that he lives in.
Well, would that be like Parkdale here, like where we see
totally.
stores and all that stuff, and like
it's like hipsters and common projects, which are like $400 sneakers, you know, carrying Americanos, and it's that culture.
No, let's talk about kind of the cast you're working with here, because you know it's not like you know, like opening scene is you and Zoe Saldana, and I had to do like, is that Zoe Saldana? Like I had to do a thing, but you're working with a lot of like, so you got Zoe Saldana, you got the Kid Miro, and you know, but like my favorite,
Method Man, no big deal.
Okay, can I tell you something? We're watching this movie with my kids, right? And one of the most precious moments is when I get to pause on the priest and be like, "This is Method Man. I was your age. This guy." I used to buy these things called CDs. Okay? That is my original Wu-Tang CD when I was 12 years old, when I was 13 years old. This is the How High single. Method Man's an idol to me. He's a god to me. And so I'm so jealous that he basically christens you in this movie. There's a, you know, you have an interaction where he gets to christen you. He's the priest and he gets to christen you. Talk to me. Tell me. Like,
I mean, if you want, I mean, earlier you had asked me, like, what's it like leaning into your whiteness for this film? Well, when I first met Method Man, for like the first like hour of our interaction, he just kept calling me Susan, which was so funny. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, am I gonna correct him? I don't know. And also it's like, it's so funny that he's calling me Susan. And then eventually I was like, oh, like actually, you know, it's Sarah. And then he started singing the Hall & Oates song, Sarah Smile.
Won't you smile a while for me? Oh, Sarah, please, Sarah, please.
It's like, this is it. This is like as good as it's gonna get for me. I can just die now. Like I've reached the height of my career. Thank you.
It was really the end of this interview. There's nothing more to be said.
Where do we go from here?
Going to the nest and take out every last one of them. One night with you guys and I already have vampires and thugs trying to kill me. Vampire! Go!
I mean, is she just not the whitest person you've ever met?
No, I love her so much. No, I love her. She was so fun and just like bubbly and just happy to be alive. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of toxic positivity you got there.
I'm like, you love this interview because you could just roast me about
yeah, just like,
roast away.
It's not overwhelming though. It's just very sweet. She's like a mother, like a white mother, you know, like the worst thing she could do is tell you to go to timeout. Like, it's so sweet. I loved her so much.